Tired of the lies and everything, of the what they said I did. I know for a fact it wasn't true. I didn't headlock her. I didn't beat her with the door. I only try to diffuse the situation. They keep deflecting away from that. And what I did what they saying I did made it sound harsh, and I didn't do that. So we need justice. We need justice to be served too, the truth. And they keep deflecting from it.
The room was quiet until the lawyer spoke. It wasn't a long statement, no dramatic buildup, just a calm, direct claim that immediately changed the direction of the entire case. Holly's lawyer revealed that new information had surfaced, information serious enough to raise the possibility of criminal charges. The name at the center of it, Carlos. Up until that moment, the situation had been surrounded by uncertainty. There were rumors, discussions, and online theories, but nothing concrete enough to suggest real legal consequences. This was different. The statement didn't confirm an arrest. It didn't guarantee charges, but it introduced something that hadn't been there before. Accountability. Behind the scenes, investigators were reportedly reviewing evidence that hadn't been part of the original public narrative. Details that, according to the lawyer, could change how everything is understood. And that's what made the moment so powerful. Because it wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was precise. And in legal situations, precision matters. Almost immediately, attention shifted. What had once been speculation now felt closer to something real. People began looking at the case differently, re-examining timelines, statements, and inconsistencies that previously didn't seem significant. The question started spreading quickly. Is this the beginning of something bigger? For Carlos, the pressure had just increased. For Holly, it meant the situation was far from over. And for everyone watching, one thing became clear. This story was entering a new phase. Backhand index pointing right. Stay with this case as it develops. Like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter and real-time updates. In the hours after the statement, attention turned to one thing. The timeline. What once seemed like a straightforward sequence of events was now being questioned from every angle. Small details, previously overlooked, were suddenly being re-examined with a new level of intensity. Because if new evidence existed, it had to fit somewhere. And that's where things started to get complicated. According to emerging discussions around the case, certain moments didn't align as cleanly as they once appeared. Gaps that had been ignored were now being highlighted. Statements that sounded consistent before were being compared more carefully. Not dramatically different, but not identical either. That distinction mattered. Investigators, it was reported, were focusing on these inconsistencies, looking for patterns, verifying movements, and testing whether the original version of events could hold up under closer scrutiny. Meanwhile, Carlos remained silent. No public response, no clarification, no attempt to address the growing speculation. And that silence only added to the tension.
Folded. So a lot of information came out in court today. Witnesses saying what they saw, but you were there. What's your reaction to what you heard came out in court today?
When I heard it, I'm just looking. You know, it was unbelievable, but I was there. And I know for a fact none of that happened, how they just explained it. But my truth will get out here, and I hope everybody understand. That's really it. I can't even say too much right now. You know, because it's just going to feel like I'm going against them, they going against me, we just going back and forth. But the truth is going to come out.
Because in situations like this, silence can be interpreted in many ways. Some see it as caution, others see it as avoidance. For Holly's legal team, the strategy appeared clear. Apply pressure, introduce doubt, and let the evidence speak when the time is right. But with every passing hour, the question grew louder. If everything was as it had been described before, Why were new details changing the picture now? The timeline, once steady, was beginning to shift. And when timelines shift, cases change. As attention intensified, focus shifted from speculation to something more concrete. The evidence. Holly's legal team had made a bold claim, but claims alone aren't enough. Behind that statement had to be something real, something strong enough to suggest that legal consequences were now possible. And that's where the situation took another turn. According to sources following the case, the new information wasn't just one detail. It was a combination of elements that, when viewed together, began to form a clearer picture. Individually, they may not have seemed significant, but collectively, they raised serious questions. Investigators were reportedly analyzing communication records, movement patterns, and previously overlooked interactions. Nothing had been confirmed publicly, but the direction of the investigation suggested a deeper level of scrutiny than before. What made this development different was how focused it seemed. This wasn't broad speculation anymore. It was targeted, and that put Carlos directly in the spotlight. At the same time, legal experts began weighing in, noting that for a lawyer to publicly suggest potential charges, there must be a level of confidence, either in the evidence itself or in what it could lead to. Still, no official charges had been filed. That detail mattered, because until something is formally announced, everything remains in a state of possibility, not certainty. But the atmosphere around the case had clearly changed. What once felt uncertain was now moving towards something more defined. And for those following closely, the question wasn't just if something would happen. It was when. By now, the situation had reached a critical point. What started as a single statement had grown into something much larger: scrutiny, attention, and a level of pressure that couldn't be ignored. All eyes were now on Carlos. Behind the scenes, legal teams were reportedly moving carefully. When a case begins to shift like this, every move matters. Every word is measured. Every decision can have consequences. And that's exactly what made the stage so intense. Because silence was no longer just silence. It had weight. Carlos still hadn't made a public statement. No interviews. No direct response to the claims. And as time passed, that absence of explanation only fueled more questions. On the other side, Holly's legal team appeared steady. Their message hadn't changed, but it didn't need to. They had already introduced doubt. Now they were letting it grow. Legal analysts following the situation pointed out something important. When pressure builds this way, it often leads to one of two outcomes: either a formal response that challenges the claims, or legal action that confirms them. And at this point, both seemed possible. Meanwhile, the public conversation continued to expand. People revisited earlier details, reanalyzed timelines, and debated what the next step might be. But beneath all of that noise was a simple reality. Something had changed. The case was no longer standing still. It was moving. And when cases start moving, they rarely go back to where they were before.
They've been using the media too. Anything I do, hey, look, I bet you when you beat ass, right? Like, say if you're into a girl, you beat ass, it's a problem. You know, I put out like, yeah, I went to her job and tell her because she used to clock out of work. I don't know what the fuck they used to do, come fuck my shit up. And that's the right thing you're supposed to do, try to get help. And they even bash me for that. Oh, you going to a job and doing this? Hell yeah, I'm getting tired of it. Fuck me up. That ain't going to back.
When she hands up and smash that up.
Stop letting her clock. Act like she about to take a break and come over and smash my shit up. Cause she worked close to my house. Like, stop that. And they talking about that's wrong. They just nobody about to keep going through that shit. That shit. She probably knew I was soft though, man. You know, I ain't used to be on that. She used to go crazy. I used to try to get the fuck out of there. Man, she used to be on Demon Town. I love her though, man. Miss her, but they got me looking like I'm a man. That shit. That shit ain't even cool, man.
The only question left was how far this would go, and who would be affected when it did. At this stage, the case stands on the edge of something significant. What began as speculation has evolved into a situation where real legal outcomes are now being considered. The statement from Holly's lawyer didn't just raise questions, it set a process in motion. And now, everything depends on what happens next. For Carlos, the situation is no longer just about public opinion. If the claims made are supported by evidence, the next step could involve formal legal action. That means investigators, prosecutors, and legal procedures stepping in to determine whether charges are warranted. But until that happens, one important fact remains. Nothing has been officially confirmed. That line is what separates possibility from reality. For Holly, the shift represents something different, a move toward answers, toward clarity, and potentially toward accountability. Her legal team has already made it clear that they believe the evidence is strong enough to justify further action. Now it's up to the system to decide. Cases like this don't resolve overnight. They move step by step, evidence reviewed, statements analyzed, decisions made carefully. And sometimes, what seems obvious on the surface becomes more complex the deeper it goes. But one thing is certain. The story isn't over. Not even close. Whether this leads to charges, a legal battle, or a completely different outcome, the direction has already changed. What was once uncertain is now under serious examination. And for everyone watching, the same question remains. Is this the moment everything finally comes to light? Backhand index pointing right. Stay informed as this story develops. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breaking updates and true crime coverage.